All right, with the election just 11 days away and the control of the Senate is on the line, we're breaking down the most important down-ballot races of 2024. Fox News contributor, she's a poster as well, Kellyanne Conway joins me to break it down. Okay, so let's look at the power rankings right here because I think it tells the story.
Yes.
Right now, the balance of power, Democrats have 51, the Republicans have 49. But what really matters is what we're looking at right now with the power rankings. There's 48 Democrat seats, one toss-up, 51 for the Republicans, and that brings us to this race in Ohio. It's a toss-up. Why?
It's a toss-up because Sherrod Brown has been there so long. Lots of people think he does a great job in Washington, mainly because he's running all these ads, Lawrence, where he's bear-hugging Donald Trump. He really doesn't mention Biden, let alone Harris, doesn't show up with her when she's in Ohio or anywhere else. And most of his ads right now are, I work with Donald Trump on trade and whatnot. But I think Bernie Moreno is surging. He's got a great life story. He came here at 5 years old, youngest of 7 from Colombia, the country. He will be the first United States senator in American history, I believe, born in South America. That's exciting. And he's just taking on Brown's fraudulent record. He can't say, I'm going to work in a bipartisan fashion and vote with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris all that time. This is a state, Ohio, Donald Trump carried twice, 2016 and 2020, with 8% of the vote. J.D. Vance, obviously, is his running mate. I think Sherrod Brown's time may be up here. That's
your prediction right there. Let's move on to these GOP leaning. Right now, you got Sheehy and Tester, and just looking right here, it doesn't even look close.
Yeah, this has been a runaway race. Tim Sheehy, former Navy SEAL, very successful businessman, military wife as well. Tester's time has been running short for many years. This is a state Donald Trump carries by double digits. But she's the right kind of candidate to take on Tester because he's unafraid to expose Tester's record. Another guy who's a phony, frankly, in Montana every 6 years. You know, I'm Farmer John, I'm Rancher John. Meanwhile, he goes back to Washington and he votes for a very weak agenda in foreign policy, a very woke agenda domestically. I think Republicans already have this in their column, along with West Virginia.
This is pretty much done. But what about my home state of Texas? Kamala Harris is going to be here. They think they can win this, but I'm still hearing Cruz on the ground.
They say this every 6 years. Cruz, I know that Steve Daines feels very good about this race, the chairman of the NRSC. They're going to spend a ton of money, but they did that with Beto O'Rourke last time, a guy who's run unsuccessfully for Senate, governor, and president of the United States, a whole trifecta of losses.
Next?
Go home and be with your kids. Yeah. So, look, I think we're starting at 51 Republican, 49 Democrat. Why is this important? Kamala Harris has broken more ties in the United States Senate, Lawrence, than almost any vice president in history. The vice president breaks ties in such a tight Senate. This is important for the agenda. And also, I got there in early 2017 with President Trump. We had a majority in the House. We had a majority in the Senate with Republicans. They didn't repeal and replace Obamacare. Couldn't get infrastructure passed. Tax Cut and Jobs Act got signed December 2nd, not March 2nd, because you sometimes have these Republicans who flip to the other side, want something they're not getting, and it's hard to rely upon Democrats. I think if President Trump can find a couple Democrats who say that Tax Cut and Jobs Act, the dereg agenda, has benefited my state, I'm going to cross over. That's key.
Let's look at some of those Democrats, because it's a lot on the board. They had a tough map for them. Let's start here with Michigan real quickly. Who's going to win this right here between Slotkin?
Well, Slotkin's ahead, but she's really been suffering, and she's been sounding the alarm bells that Harris is not doing as well there. Obviously, the Arab-American vote is very tough for Kamala Harris. She has to deal with her whole Hamas caucus. And Rogers, I know he's got the money now. I think people in his campaign think he's been surging. Pennsylvania is another one that is more likely to flip.
What's your prediction on that?
So we had McCormick ahead a few weeks ago for the first time ever in our polling, up by 148-47. A little bit of a Butler bump. We're in the field October 4th to 7th. But having said that, Casey is traditionally under 50% and then pulls it out in the end. McCormick has been able to keep Casey where he is. I think McCormick's run a great campaign.
I got 10 seconds. The Maryland race, though. Hogan separated from Donald Trump. He was the former governor there. It was popular at one time, but it doesn't seem like it's working in the polls.
He thought he was going to run against Dave Trone, which would have been an easier target for him. Let me say about all these races, every Republican, especially in these swing states presidentially, they're banking on Donald Trump's energy, enthusiasm, momentum to bring them over the finish line. That's okay, but you have to run your own race, too. In fact, in 2022, President Trump was overly unfairly blamed for a lot of those Senate losses. This time, they're banking on him to pull them over.
Kellyanne Conway, looking at all the races. Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.